In 2009, I was arrested for legally possessing my firearms in New Jersey. Up until I was arrested, I was just a regular guy. I had student loans, I had a Honda Civic, I was 24 years old. I didn't really have much to my name. I was married, I had a new house, a wife, and a son, and as soon as I moved back to New Jersey, all of that changed, and I lost everything. On January 2nd, 2009, I was pulled over, searched, and ultimately arrested for possessing guns that I owned and purchased legally in the state of New Jersey. All of a sudden, I couldn't even be a parent anymore. I wasn't allowed to see my son. I lost my house. I spent every penny that I had trying to get custody back of my son and trying to fight these charges from the state, even though I had never hurt anyone. Ultimately, I went to trial and I was sentenced to 7 years in prison with a 3-year mandatory minimum sentence. I wound up spending 4 months in prison before Governor Christie released me. I spent the past 5 years of my life trying to clear my name, and even though Governor Christie released me from prison and the appellate division overturned 2 of the convictions, I'm still a convicted felon, and the New Jersey Supreme Court does not want to hear my case. So I'm taking it to the United States Supreme Court. When politicians talk about public policy, they always talk in the abstract. They give you statistics, they talk about numbers, they never talk about the individuals that the public policy impacts. And the policies in New Jersey, especially the ones related to the Second Amendment, they destroy families. And my family will never be the same. This is me with my son Logan. He turned 5 years old this year, and I haven't been able to see him in the past 4 years. I sent him messages, but I have no idea if he ever gets them. My biggest goal with this book is just to put my story on paper so that one day my son can pick it up and read it and know that I never stopped loving him, so that one day he'll know why I wasn't around when he was young. I'm also hoping that my book can shine some light on some of the things that are wrong with the American legal system. I'm not the only person that something like this has happened to, and I won't be the last. All of the proceeds from the sale of this book are going to help me fight my battle at the United States Supreme Court and to help me get back custody of my son. This book can only happen with your help. With your help, I can get the funding that I need for editing, design, and distribution. With your help, we can let the American people know that what happened to me can happen to anyone.
Well, a New Jersey man is now serving 7 long years behind bars for possessing 2 guns that he had purchased legally.
A case that the NRA called an example of weapons laws turning, quote, law-abiding gun owners into criminals.
The state of New Jersey, I can tell you as a former life-tenured judge in that state, is not a friend of the Second Amendment.
So outrageous. When I first read this story, I could not believe my eyes.
Now the outrageous story of a man sentenced to 7 years in prison.
Facing 7 years in jail.
Sentenced to 7 years in jail.
7-year prison sentence.
They've offered you a plea bargain of 5 years in jail. You basically told them to go take a hike.
The judge made a huge mistake.
This was a victimless, violentless offense, if it was an offense at all.
Back in August, Brian Aitken was sentenced to 7 years in prison for possessing handguns that he had legally purchased in Colorado.
New Jersey law provides for an exemption when you're moving from one residence to another.
And in fact, the jury 3 times asked the judge to charge them on the exemption because they knew what was going on.
The jury asked 3 times.
The jury was begging to hear it, to hear it.
What the real problem is, there's a patchwork of gun laws state to state, and God forbid anybody moves out of state because you're going to end up behind bars.
I think as much as this case is about gun laws and kind of the contradictory nature of some of them, it's also about a bad judge.
How in the world can prosecutors, and for that matter the judge, justify what happened here? 7 years.
One state governor is giving a man a lot to be thankful for this Christmas.
Governor Chris Christie commuted his sentence, and Aitken was released after serving only 4 months.
Chris Christie commuted his 7-year prison sentence.
Even though Brian Aitken's sentence was commuted by Chris Christie, he is still blocked from seeing his son because of the gun charges. You have been unable to see your son for 2 years.